Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to take a look at Black Myth Wukong. Just came out yesterday, and we'll see how well the 4070 Ti can handle this game at 1080p, 1440p. I don't have high hopes at 4K, but we'll see. We'll do native DLSS on, off, ray tracing on and off, and see just how well this graphics card can actually handle this game. Now this is based on Unreal Engine 5, so this is a next-gen gaming engine. It's going to be around for a while, so we're going to see a lot more games over the next few years come out using this engine, and this will give you an idea of, well, if the 4070 Ti can handle it. Starting off, we are at 1080p, and I got the graphics setting. DLSS, you can't actually turn DLSS off. You can go through and use DLSS, TSR, or FSR, or XESS. I got DLSS on, and I got the super resolution set to 100% quality, so there shouldn't be any sort of upscaling. Frame generation at the moment is off. Ray tracing is off, and I got everything set to full cinematic, which is supposed to be, I guess, the high end as far as graphic presets go. So honestly, I was kind of expecting a slightly higher FPS off the bat. This is 1080p, and we're hitting 52. So right off the bat, I do have some concerns. Yeah, so this is what we're getting at 1080p native. I'm going to hate to see ray tracing turned on. Alright, so running around the jungle here, we are getting an average of 50. We do have some spikes in there here and there, and we got a 1% low of 39, which I'd like to say isn't too bad, but at 1080p, this is kind of horrendous. Let's go and see how bad ray tracing. Actually, let's just turn the graphic settings down just a notch from cinematic very high. All right, so we picked up a couple FPS, but not a whole lot. Yeah, dropping down the preset to very high doesn't do a whole lot, but to give us an extra couple FPS. I'm going to hate to see ray tracing on, so we'll do... Oh, why not? Let's go very high. So this is kind of concerning that the adjustments aren't actually being, saved, because we're actually getting higher FPS. You're tracing on. Well, let's just run around. Okay, so I'm a little concerned because we're still getting pretty high FPS, but let's go run around a bit and see if things change. Well, I'll leave frame generation off. Let's put super resolution set to 80. So we'll have a slight upscale using DLSS, and then we'll come back in and turn frame generation on. Yeah, so that really pumped up the FPS during DLSS on, which is to be expected. We're getting an extra 16 FPS on the average. See if we can find anyone to fight. But I think I cleared everything else. So we're not going to find anybody. But we'll see. I'm just gonna wait for this big meathead to move. So as you can see at 1080p, like ray tracing on, off, no problem handling it. So let's move the resolution up to 1440p, and I bet you this is where we're going to see it struggle a little bit. Okay, turn 1440p on. So moving from 1080p up to 1440p with very high, we lost, what, about 8 FPS? Which isn't that much. The graphics in this game are fantastic. So at 1440p native, 53 FPS average isn't too shabby. I haven't seen any major spikes in the frame time graph. Lows are pretty solid at 44. And let's go get my butt kicked. Well, even during the boss fight, we are averaging 48 FPS with a low of 28. All right, let's turn on ray tracing. Again, we're not seeing any change in the FPS, which is kind of weird. Really? Yeah, I died. So again, we're down to about 47 average with 35 1% low. Not like no change with ray tracing on. And turn DLSS on, so we'll turn the super resolution down to 80. Yeah, so that gave us close to a 15 FPS bump. Yeah. So to really get around that 60 average FPS at 1440p, you want to turn down some of the more demanding settings. And usually what that is in this case for Unreal Engine 5, it's lumen. So we're going to turn down shadow quality and illumination and things like that. So, but just by turning the shadow quality down to high, global illumination and reflection quality down to high, we are getting a half decent FPS. So now we're hitting just over 60, or we're up to 68 FPS. So that definitely, it doesn't impact the quality of the visuals as far as detail and things like that. It still looks incredibly good. It might not have perfect shadowing and illumination, but by turning that down, we gain the extra FPS. However, at 1440p, the very high settings, sitting around a 53 average FPS is still pretty good. Just wanted to kind of give you an idea of, by turning those down, what kind of FPS you would get. However, when we get in here and fight this guy, I feel like it's going to drop a lot more. Alright. But anyways, here you can see it came very close to staying at that 60 FPS during the boss fight. We're at 58 and a 42 1% low, so pretty decent there. Let's move on to 4K and see how badly this does. we're almost hitting at that 10 gig VRAM. So I wonder how much VRAM I'll use up at 4K. All right, so moving on to 4K. We're going back, turning frame generation off, resolution set to 100, ray tracing's off, and everything else set back to very high settings. And now we're at the point where we're struggling to hit even an average of 30 FPS, which kind of be expected. We're moving into 4K, so it's a little bit more demanding. VRAM, we're hitting up at like 11 gigs, or pretty near that, and this is only a 12 gig card. The new 4070 Ti Super actually has 16 gigabytes, so it's more equipped to do 4K gaming than the 4070 Ti. So for me, this is a little low. Let's go ahead, and I'm sure if we go and turn ray tracing on, we're going to get the same kind of result as we were before. Well, I guess in this case, we going up just a little bit. Let's reset it. So yeah, we're pretty much sitting at the same place. And it's not going to change much more than that, except maybe dip a little bit. We got a couple of frame time spikes there. But again, 30 FPS isn't really what I'm going for. What's surprising though is the 1% lows are 23, which isn't too bad. So essentially, yeah, like I said, with or without ray tracing, get roughly the same performance. Let's turn ray tracing off again, and we'll adjust super resolution down to an 80 upscale. Oh, you guys are kicking my butt. Well, we maintained half decent average FPS with DLSS enabled, 80 upscale. and 80% upscale. So let's turn on frame generation and see what that does. So at 4K with Unreal Engine 5, turning on DLSS and frame generation, we are getting well over a 60 FPS average. So this card can do for gaming, not native. You have to have all the upscaling techniques turned on. We are starting to hit up against that 12 gigabyte VRAM limit. We're at 11 right now, which we're getting up there pretty high. And I would be curious if we can play around with the settings and get like close to a 60 FPS average. Close to a 60 FPS average. Let's go back. Let's turn super resolution up to 100%, and we'll turn frame generation off. So at 4K, if we turn the quality settings down to high, we're still not seeing 60 FPS. At least in this scene, we're around 40. If we go in again, turn that down to medium. Now we're up to 50 FPS. So we're getting closer to 60. And then if we go to low, here we are sacrificing a lot of quality, as you can see from the first scene to this scene. Pretty much all the vegetation disappeared. There's no shadow, nothing. This is very plain, and we're at 60 FPS. So in my opinion, it's not worth the sacrifice to turn the settings down too low when you can just use DLSS and frame generation. Yeah, so in my opinion, the loss of graphic detail doesn't make up for the increased resolution. I would rather go back down to 1440p and play from there, or just turn DLSS and frame generation on, because it allows you to play at very high settings and enjoy the extra detail and the high resolution. If you found this video useful or helpful, please think about subscribing to the channel, like the video, and leave any comments down below. Thanks.